We currently live in an age of scientific materialism without the need of religious nonsense. There are many advantages to this. In modern society, we no longer depend on dogmas and superstitions. We use reason and the scientific method to arrive at truth. However, one has to wonder if there are limits to this paradigm. Is there more to reality than meets the eye? Does God exist? Those who are uninitiated seem to have a misunderstanding of the meaning of God. To most people, when they hear the word God, they imagine an anthropomorphic being observing their every move. However, for those who've had a psychedelic or mystical experience, God is just a word to describe the life force that pervades all things. God is the consciousness, an awareness that is simultaneously observing and creating the physical universe. All is God and God is all. Each of us a node in a vast, holographic, fractal network of the multiverse. It is infinite, with no beginning and no end. Quantum mechanics and Eastern mysticism. You might be saying at this point, that all sounds nice, but where is the scientific proof that God exists? Anyone who wants to know how bizarre reality is need only look to quantum mechanics. Many of the founders of quantum mechanics were sympathetic to Hinduism and Eastern mysticism. Quote, "Hence this life of yours you are living is not merely a piece of the entire existence, but is in a certain sense the whole. Only this whole is not so constituted that it can be surveyed in one single glance. This, as we know, is what the Brahmins express in that sacred mystical formula, which is yet really so simple and so clear. Tattvam asi, this is you. Or again, in such words, I am in the east and in the west. I am below and above. I am this whole world." Erwin Schrödinger. Schrödinger, in speaking about Heisenberg, has said, quote, "He began to see that the recognition of relativity, interconnectedness, and impermanence as fundamental aspects of physical reality, which had been so difficult for himself and his fellow physicists, was the very basis of Indian spiritual traditions." Quote, "The general notions about human understanding which are illustrated by discoveries in atomic physics are not in the nature of things wholly unfamiliar, wholly unheard of, or new. Even in our culture, they have a history, and in Buddhist and Hindu thought, a more considerable and central place. What we shall find in modern physics is an exemplification, an encouragement, and a refinement of old wisdom." Robert Oppenheimer. Quote, "The Hindu religion is the only one of the world's great faiths dedicated to the idea that the cosmos itself undergoes an immense, indeed infinite number of deaths and rebirths. It is the only religion in which the timescales correspond to those of modern scientific cosmology. Its cycles run from our ordinary day and night to a day and night of Brahma, 8.64 billion years long, longer than the age of the Earth or the Sun, and about half the time since the Big Bang." Carl Sagan. The psychedelic experience. A powerful tool for experiencing the mystical is psychedelics. With meditation, it could take months or even years to have a glimpse of enlightenment. For better or worse, with psychedelics, you're almost guaranteed to have a mystical experience. My experiences with psychedelics are what encouraged me to take up spirituality in the first place. Those who have a psychedelic trip experience feelings of unity, love, and connection to all of reality. Many report a mystical experience on psychedelics as one of the most meaningful experiences of their lives. Research shows that psychedelics have promising results for treating depression, anxiety, and PTSD. Johns Hopkins found that 50% of participants in their trial were able to quit smoking after taking psilocybin. Cancer patients who take psilocybin report no longer fearing death. Is there an afterlife? There are cases of near-death experiences where people report having an experience despite the EEG not detecting brain activity. This means that there was still consciousness despite the physical body being dead. Quote, "If NDEs are real, it changes everything we know about the world, from learning our purpose on Earth to how to interact lovingly with each other and everything on the planet. It redefines the very nature of consciousness and our understanding of it. On a scientific level, if our essence survives death, then it provides a paradigm shift in the way we perceive our reality, and it expands the world we previously knew through only our 5 earthly senses. That means our essence is also multidimensional and greater than our 3-dimensional reality. On a medical level, it may change how we take care of ourselves and how we deal with end-of-life issues. On a personal level, it changes how we interact with others and how we learn to love ourselves. On an emotional level, people who have a near-death experience love times a million, and the majority lose their fear of death. On a spiritual level, there is evidence for God, and notions of how we are all interconnected throughout the universe. Usually during NDEs, experiencers say they perceive the universal matrix soon after their consciousness leaves the body. The environment includes feelings and knowledge of unconditional love, total universal knowledge, telepathy, interconnectedness, and oneness. This stage is what we perceive, and the backdrop to how we operate as a conscious being outside of our physical body. After an NDEer comes back, it usually takes them 7 years to integrate their experience into their earthly life. For the most part, many NDEers report they are angry at being back because they didn't want to leave paradise and that they long to return home, which intriguingly implies that this earth is not our home.